Well, there is no end to Hamas's torture tales. Video after video has emerged from Israel showing how terrorists fired at anything and everything to kill innocent Israeli citizens. In a video released by Israeli Defense Forces from the 7th of October, the Hamas terrorists can be seen dressed in IDF uniforms, flagging down, passing cars and shooting their occupants indiscriminately. And this is just one incident in what was a larger coordinated terror plot. It's getting clearer now that the manner in which the Hamas terrorists operated during this unprecedented escalation was part of an elaborate plan. IDF has released the Hamas abduction toolkit, a manual, it says, was found on the bodies of the dead Hamas terrorists. Now, the manual IDF has released mentions how Hamas must gather hostages, create chaos using firearms and kill anyone who poses a threat. We have Kritsween, my colleague, joining us from the newspit with that manual that, in fact, Hamas released for its operatives on ground. Kritsween, over to you.
Which means not only were the sites of attack pre-planned, such as the music fest or how they're going to go after innocent civilians in Israel, kibbutz after kibbutz. Here's a manual which has been prepared by the IDF, Swati, the abduction manual found on the bodies of the Hamas terrorists. And I'm going to get into the details. They've also put out these snapshots of the images of the manual as was found and is being claimed by the IDF. This is the first part, gathering. Stage 1 says gathering the hostages in several places, each group in its operating areas which were predetermined on the maps. Gathering start time when each group finishes, cleansing their operation area. All of this was detailed. All of it was pre-planned. Stage 2, gather all the hostages in 1 or 2 places. And it also says will be determined in the field. Gathering start time once again immediately after the end of stage 1 after cleansing. Thereafter, the second point talks about isolation and control within the area and around it. And this is important. Kill anyone that may pose a threat or cause a distraction or disturbance. Create chaos, as you were pointing out, using firearms, smoke stun grenades, indirect threats, electric shocks, violence and terrorism, and killing as a last resort. Bind the wrists or ankles of each hostage, group binding, strict blindfolding, block entrances and exits of the area and its surroundings. Thereafter talks about car bombs, use of explosive charges, snipers, etc. The third point, once again important, safety and security. Search the hostages, it says. Take IDs, take details and statements. Keep the hostages away from weapons and means of suicide. Bind the wrists or ankles and blindfold. Separate and isolate, which also thereafter talks about women and babies and men. Keep them separate, keep them apart from one another. Kill the problematic and those who pose a threat. Can you believe it? All of this has been detailed, and these are the pictures which the IDF claims were found on the bodies of Hamas terrorists. Supplies have been detailed in this manual. Collect as much food and drinks as possible. Organize food and drinks plus necessities. Lighting, first aid. Do not use your own supplies to feed the hostages except in emergency situations. Camouflage and hiding. This too has been detailed. Do not declare the number of kidnappers and their weapons. Do not declare your connection with the outside world. Hide the place of holding, imprisonment. Hide the guarding method and shifts. Set fire to a large number of places. This is how the Hamas terrorists were directed to ensure that there is chaos and there is confusion on ground while they go ahead with their assault. Communication. Only use secure communication means when possible. Supply communication from local sources. Abstain from wireless communication open areas. They were instructed on how they must not be caught, and these are the protocols that must be blindly followed. Once again, putting out another picture. This has been translated by the IDF with proof. They've put out the manual, the toolkit, which was used by the Hamas terrorists. Live broadcast, direct transfer of images while verifying the local and other related communication technology is valid. Negotiations, also very important. Point number 8 says political negotiations are on behalf of the leadership of the movement and the mechanism. Do not engage in negotiations in the field if possible. Only the most senior in the field will communicate with the enemy, and they must remain in contact with their commanders throughout the incident. If communication is interrupted, try to discuss and convey what we came for. So the intent, the agenda, the plan clearly established, and these are the pictures that the IDF has posted. They say these manuals, this toolkit was found on the body of Hamas terrorists, and look at this, all of this detailed weaponry, perhaps also making them aware of the kind of Israeli equipment that they may come across. So these are some of the pictures as have been put out by the IDF in detail, and clearly indicates how this was all pre-planned, from the manner in which the assault was carried out to the area, the target of the Hamas terrorists.
Absolutely. Step